Right, 60 days until the summer, 60 days until June the 1st anyway, so time to get diced, time to get shredded, time to get lean as a bean. I mean, ideally, we should be there already anyway. You want to be staying trim all year long to avoid that roller coaster and those restarts, but hey, look, we've all been there. If you're a little bit behind, I got you. I've got, let me see here, it's endless, 15, 16, 17 steps I'm going to walk you through today to drop 10 to 15 pounds by the time summer really kicks off. So buckle up, we're going rapid fire. Let's start with breakfast then. First, I'd follow a very conventional 3-meal structure with snacks in between. Breakfast for me is going to be oats, soy milk. Yes, I'm one of those hippies. If that's a problem for you, this ain't the channel for you. You don't need to write below like you're going to die of protein deficiency. I promise you, I've heard it all over the years. You're not going to offer any profound debunking that I haven't heard a million times before or considered myself, obviously. But oats, soy milk, berries, nuts or seeds are really slow digesting, fiber rich, keep me full, keep a lid on the calories by measuring the portions, especially that fat source, those nuts and seeds, because really high in caloric density, as you probably know. It's an amazing way for me to start the day. So that's breakfast. Step 2, lunch. We're doing one of my big bowls. You've seen these, I've shown these a million times. If you're new to my channel, we take rice, or I say rice, whole grain of choice, potatoes. We add that to tofu, tempeh, or another legume, so beans, lentils. Loads of veg, especially prioritizing not only these, but especially prioritizing the non-starchy veg, again, for their really advantageous volume to calorie ratio, adding all of this bulk. This is the cheat code. And then we do a light sauce. So something like hot sauce, balsamic vinegar, maybe a tiny bit of balsamic glaze as well, although that's more calorific, so careful there. Or even just a little bit of lime or lemon juice. Now you can do a tahini or a cashew-based dressing, as a lot of the people in the vegan plant-based world like, but I just remind you these are very, very calorific. I personally like to chew my fat sauce rather than have it in a dressing, but there's no hard and fast rule for this. So I'll also add half an avocado, maybe a tablespoon and a half of hemp seeds to these bowls as well. So again, we're not cutting fat or cutting carbs here. We're not worried about protein because we've got plenty of decent plant protein sources here. Amino acids across the whole day. So these are balanced but still quite controlled, methodical meals from a weight loss perspective. So that's lunch. For dinner, honestly, a lot of my dinners would be pretty much the same as my lunches, and then I could kind of interchange them, but that'd be really nice from a batch cooking perspective, really practical, but very similar structure. So we've got the carbohydrate base, potatoes, whole grains, but for dinner I might be more inclined to use like a pasta, whether it's just whole wheat pasta or chickpea, red lentil pasta, which are all the rage right now for that extra boost of protein. Then of course beans, lentils, tofu. This is when I also might throw in TVP, seitan, which I don't tend to use at lunch as much. Just preference, not any particular reason for that. We're loading up once again on the veg, and again, key theme here, calorie controlled with the fat source. So we're not eliminating, again, macronutrients or food groups. We're eating nice, balanced whole foods from lots of different food groups, but this dinner is definitely the biggest emphasis for me. It's that biggest meal of the day because it's going to last me all the way until the next morning, right? So I want lots of fiber, slow digesting, and a great amount of enjoyment and satisfaction from the din-dins as well. Snack din-dins, yeah, we went there. I'm a child at heart. Snacks, fruit. Right? And this is obviously a very broad category. Generally speaking, fresh fruit, as opposed to dried fruit, has a really advantageous calorie to volume ratio as a whole. Whereas things like medjool dates, dried mango, dried apricots still can be an amazing part of a healthy and weight loss friendly diet. Don't get me wrong on that, but you don't get as much volume per calories with fresh fruits given all their water content. Makes sense? So I think with the fruits, I'd personally be prioritizing the following: apples, berries, citrus fruits, and melon. Again, for really, especially watermelon in the summer, really advantageous calorie to volume ratio. In other words, I can eat loads and still make sure that I'm not stacking tons and tons of calories to my diet with those things. Alternative snacks, I might do my soy yogurt with cucumber slices, red bell pepper, I love that. The soy yogurt I mix with a little bit of mustard, maybe some herbs and spices. What else have I been doing often? Rice cakes, I love my rice cakes, like really just simple low calorie snacks, and I try and cap myself at 1 to 2 of those per day. Step number 5, I think we're on now, Speedy Fix. This is a good one. Speedy Fix in the busy moments, rather than life getting on top of me and like stressful, busy days, just grabbing something. It's maybe fast food, again, very grab and go, like one of those sandwich meal deals. meals where you have some god-awful sandwich with loads of mayo, dressing, even if it's a vegan one, it could be 700, 800 calories. You got your bag of chips on the side. Even if you get a healthy snack bar, it might be 200 calories. Like all of a sudden you're at your calorie deficit just from one meal. And so instead, I just have a really simple, like not strictly perfect whole foods, like checking every box meal. And you know, this might change. Like I like wraps for this. They're a really good option, but don't have the shelf life necessarily on fresh wraps. So what I really like is cereal. Would you believe? I'm not talking about Crave or Cookie Crisp or Lucky Charms for my friends across the pond. I used to love those growing up, though I will concede. But like something like that's still high fiber content, relatively low in caloric density, still decent amount of volume. So something like bran flakes, really underrated. Something like a shredded wheat type, I don't necessarily mean shredded wheat, but shredded wheat type product. Something like Weetabix, shout out UK, amazing. A healthy cereal, basically. Then I would add frozen blueberries, right? And no excuse for, I don't have any fresh fruit in. Frozen blueberries. Like every part of this speedy fix is very tactical. It's got to be doable, got to be agreeable in those busy moments. So frozen blueberries, bit of soy milk or unsweetened almond milk, bit of stevia. I just say soy milk because it's a little protein boost there in an otherwise quite low protein meal. And then a bit of stevia just for a little bit of sweetness if you need it. You might not even need it, or a tiny splash of maple syrup. So that's my first go-to plan. There's just so much better than just grabbing something convenient that's pretty out of control. Step number 6, we've kind of already inferred, implied, but I want to give specific examples. Use low calorie density volume foods to stay full. So things like non-starchy veg, as I keep mentioning, I love, in particular, zucchini, broccoli, what else? I mentioned cucumber earlier on. Red bell pepper is quite low in calorie density, but still relatively tasty. And so these offer all of this volume. Mushrooms, amazing, offer all of this volume for very few calories. So you bulk up those meals, you can eat those really generous portions. It almost feels like you're cheating. What? Cheating weight loss. I can eat all of this food, I'm still gonna drop weight. Almost feels wrong at first, but once you see the scale drop every week, you're like, oh, okay, this volume eating, it really is pretty cool. Fruit as well, but especially water-rich fruits. I think I already mentioned the likes of watermelon, citrus fruits, berries, etc., etc. Strawberries as well, especially, offer loads of volume for very few calories. So we bulk up the meals with these foods. This is a big hack. Step 7, I'd keep meals boring on purpose, but still add all the things I've mentioned. Soy sauce, hot sauce, balsamic vinegar, a little bit of balsamic glaze, lime, lemon juice, loads of seasoning, loads of herbs and spices. Little tactical dumps of nutritional yeast that add loads of flavor. So that, yeah, I'm getting loads of flavor, but all for very few calories, rather than all the rich dressings, the sauces, the oil. We're going to come on to oil in just a second. In fact, let's do it now. No cooking oil, because it's a waste of calories. Lots of oil is also really high in saturated fat, so this isn't just a weight loss perspective. I've also got my health hat on here as well. And yeah, I just cook, saute in water instead, or a little bit of soy sauce or vegetable broth. No, it's not the same. You don't get that crispness, but you save the, whatever it is, 130 to 150 calories per tablespoon of oil just from using those things. An alternative, if you want to meet in the middle, might be just a little low-calorie oil spray instead as well that's really diluted with water, with liquid there. But yeah, we're using all of these things to add like the soy sauce, the balsamic vinegar, etc., etc. It's not too decadent. I know it's not too fancy, but to add a little bit of flavor to those really boring, very repeatable meals. I mean, I say boring, like it's kind of tongue-in-cheek because I love my diet. I don't find it boring. I know it's repetitive, but I don't find it boring. But yeah, people might look at my meals and go, hey, damn, that's boring. But that's why you need to maximize the flavor with the low-calorie stuff. I've lost track, it might be step 8, 9, but the next one, 1 meal out per week allowance. I've been so big on this for so long. If you've been watching my videos for years, I don't need to explain this one. 1 meal out per week really is the sweet spot to where this doesn't feel too unrealistic, I think. You start going to 2 or 3, and yeah, you can have like a really good social life, but it really at that point is at risk of compromising your results. Of course, elephant in the room on this whole conversation is, depends what you eat, depends what you eat when you're eating out, right? There's a big difference between McDonald's and, you know, going out for a salad to a salad bar, or maybe a little bit of vegetable sushi and whatnot. And actually, I'd shout out those particular things. When I do eat out, I want to make clear, I'm not treating it like a blowout or a binge. or a cheat meal. It is novelty, and I appreciate to have something slightly different away from my plan, so I am willing to have a bit of fun with it. I am willing for it to be a few more calories than one of my home meals. That's fine, it's all accounted for. But I'm still trying to keep it relatively whole foodsy, so I like the vegetable sushi, I like the poke bowls, maybe asking for the dressing on the side so you can have a bit more control over what is usually a very calorie-rich dressing. So yeah, we're not going out crazy, going for a 2,000 calorie pizza, having drinks on the side, desserts, appetizers. It's still controlled, but that one meal out per week doesn't make it feel too boxed in or too sacrificial in my experience. Step number, I don't know, something. We've already chatted about this one, so it doesn't need too long on it, but I keep the fats controlled even when from healthy sources. So I've already talked about no oil, but the likes of, tahini, peanut butter, avocado, nuts, seeds, etc., etc. I still use these things, but again, I'm really, really precise with my portions, and I don't treat them as freely, as liberally as I do some of the low-calorie things I've mentioned, like non-starchy veg, water-rich fruit, which I don't have unlimited portions of anyway. That's not the attitude either. But all the more reason to have emphasis on the portion size with the fats, given their very, very high caloric density, fat being much higher in calories than both protein and carbohydrates. Step number, who knows, eat at roughly the same times. I'm sorry to keep reading off my phone, it's just where all my notes are. Otherwise I will just, if I haven't already. Eat at roughly the same times each day to create that predictability and routine. We are creatures of habit, so when you know to expect that breakfast and lunch are roughly, for example, 4 to 5 hours apart, you are going to be able to negotiate with yourself a lot better in those hunger moments. You are going to, when the hunger starts coming on, there's going to be no panic, there's going to be no grab, because you know that next filling, fiber-rich, nutrient-packed, but still calorie-controlled meal is only 30 minutes away, is only an hour a day. So you want predictability, you want lots of routine. The times in my life where I've got really, really lean, really, really crisp, where the abs are really, really popping, it's always when my life is really boring, to be honest. It sounds sad, doesn't it? But everything is so predictable, it's so predictable. I think I just said that twice. It's so well, I've lost the plot, it's so well timed, like everything is just like a boring, repetitive clockwork cycle every single day from waking up to going to bed. But that's what allows you to get in the best shape ever. Next one, we haven't talked about exercise so far. Walk 8,000 to 12,000 steps every single day. I remember when everyone was talking about 10K steps, maybe 5 or 6 years ago on Instagram. Now, when I go on Instagram, everyone's saying 15K steps is the magical sweet spot for fat loss. I'm sure in a couple of years it'll be 20K steps is the ever-heralded magic pill for fat loss. Look, like, it doesn't matter, there's no arbitrary number, there's no magic number where fat loss is more likely to happen. Obviously, as a rule of thumb, more steps you do, more potential for fat loss, but it depends what's going in your gullet, doesn't it, at the other end to compensate for those calories burned through your movement. But I've just found, for me personally, 8 to 12K is a substantial amount to where that's a couple of 100 calories burnt through that activity, but it's not so time demanding and so unrealistic for my city lifestyle to where it's like a very high bar that actually I'm never really going to stick to. So for me, that's a sweet spot. For you, find what your sweet spot is to where this is still a challenge, but not too much of a challenge. Does that make sense? That's where you got to find, and maybe that goalpost shifts for you in like busy, stressful moments with other commitments, work, family life, etc., etc. So you might need to change it, but basically you walk in daily. That's a non-negotiable, and it's a decently substantial amount. Walking as opposed to the intense cardio, I wouldn't. I know this is about getting the pounds off before the summer, but I would not actually be doing, or certainly regularly anyway, intentional cardio. I'm not getting on the treadmill at the gym. I'm not doing loads of sport to burn calories. I'm not going for runs multiple times per week. If I want to do those things, they'll be an added bonus, an extra, but they will not be mandated in my fat loss plan. Why? Because all of the intense cardio makes me ravenous. I don't know if you're all the same. Comment down below. This makes me so hungry, and it's so hard to prevent the overeating. So for me, walking is the safe bet to burn lots of calories, but not actually have the same appetite spike as you do with intense exercise. Strength training, to be honest, this is optional. I would do it if it was me starting tomorrow, but maybe as a beginner, you just want to say to yourself, like, I want to make this realistic. I want to make this pretty easy. If I can just do the walking and lose 10 to 15 pounds in the next couple of months, by the summer, that would be fantastic. That's actually going to be much much more realistic for me and way less overwhelming and daunting. You can do that. But I personally would do strength training 2 to 3 times per week. I'd probably start on 2 to 3 times per week. If I was a newbie, I'd probably start with full body workouts before going to a more sort of conventional bodybuilding style split. But again, this is all optional, but it will help. It will burn a few more calories. And again, it gets you in the kind of the healthy, active lifestyle mindset a little bit more by, having some decent exercise commitment here. Not to mention the myriad of other benefits that strength training has beyond the very superficial / scale-based. And what should be step number, 15, 16 by this point, to bring all of this together? How are we actually going to test if this is working and know whether to make changes or not? Well, we're going to weigh ourselves 3 times per week. Then what I would actually do, so say Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, you can do it Monday, Wednesday, Friday if you want a gap between them, but you're not actually going to notice, when you weigh yourself Monday, Wednesday, Friday, you're not going to actually notice that much change from week to week. So that's why I batch them all together consecutively on the weekend, if that makes sense. But then here's the magic part. I would actually do an average. So I would add up Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, divide by 3 to give myself that average number, average weekly weight, and then I'd be comparing that to the previous week to see if I'm losing that healthy and sustainable range of about 1 to 2 pounds per week, which is generally, I agree with the wider weight loss community, that is appropriate for most people. There are some exceptions, but for most people. And so as long as I was in that 1 to 2 pounds per range week, then I'd be happy and I wouldn't actually tweak or adjust anything. I'd just continue forward running the same plan. It's working. Don't get in your head about it. Don't overcomplicate it. Just keep doing the same thing. Don't moan that it's boring. If you need a new meal, you can mix it up, but just carry on. It's working. You're sitting on a golden ticket. Don't throw it away now. What if it wasn't working though? What if you do those average week to week weigh-ins and actually maybe you're losing weight for the first 4 weeks of this plan, but something stopped, right? And let's say, because here's the elephant in the room, you haven't drifted. It's not because you've been inconsistent. If you've been inconsistent, there's nothing wrong with your plan. You've just drifted more than you realize. You need to get back to the plan. But let's say you've been following this to a T and you've hit that dreaded plateau. All I would do is just reduce my calories slightly. I'm not going to tell you what, because that's relative to your body weight, lifestyle, etc., etc. So there is no generalist prescription or number. For me, it probably would be in the tune of around 100 calories though. So I am giving you a specific number, but me, from the lens of what would Ryan do, I'd probably shift 100 calories and then see what happened over that next 7-day period, comparing again the average weigh-ins. Don't give up. Like, in other words, bottom line, don't give up when you've hit a plateau. Like, I know you're sad, I know you're discouraged. There's no such thing as set point. It's not that your body is stubborn and it always stops at 165 pounds. This is the sort of self-talk that creeps in with people when they hit that plateau. No. You just make your little tweak, test what happens. If it doesn't work, boo-hoo, you make another tweak the next week. Get over it. You need a bit of patience with this journey, but it's so worth it once you notice your physique and your healthy habits changing. So don't give up just at that first plateau, that first hurdle. Make your tweak, keep going, have faith in the system. And that is it. That's the whole spiel here. That's the whole thing. It is basically, in summary, I've covered 15, 16, 17, whatever it is, who knows, infinite steps here. But basically, to summarize, it's calorie deficit, for me personally, simple plant-based meals, and my daily steps. It really hinges on those 3 things. I've just shared with you the 15, 16 ways that I achieve those 3 things best and most realistically, most sustainably for me. This is how I do it if I was starting from scratch, but it really is just calorie deficit, simple plant-based meals, daily steps. That's the formula. The people losing weight and actually keeping it off, remember this is really important, aren't doing really extreme aggressive things. Right? It needs to be realistic, it needs to be sustainable. You don't want to drop weight too quickly because that presupposes that the plan is too aggressive. It's only so long you can white knuckle it before the hunger gets out of control, the cravings, and that rebound comes. I don't need to tell you this, you know all this. No fancy hacks, nothing too extreme, in other words, just simple, practical, sustainable stuff. That's all very cliche. I didn't mean to string it together like that, but very cliche. The folks getting results with this, they're just doing it long enough. They're not giving up when challenges, when hurdles. You'll slip up. Like on this program, if this was me starting tomorrow, even with all my experience, even as a coach, I would still make mistakes. There'd be almond croissants here and there. I'd go for a cocktail. I'd go over my calories one day. Sure, but the commitment is we get back to the plan. And if you stay consistent for long enough, you can expect to lose 10 to 15 pounds over the coming months with this game plan. And I've now coached over 650 vegans and plant-based eaters through this. If you're curious how it works, how it looks like to work with me, there's going to be a case study. I'll link a case study PDF so you can learn a little bit more about my approach down below and see some real results and testimonials, there. Okay, hope this helps. Let me know what you think about this game plan. Let's get diced. Let's get shredders before the summer. Let's do it.